Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be revealing everything you need to know about medical school, and I believe this is the only video you need if you are thinking of applying to medical school. And if you don't already know me, I'm Kang Wei. I'm also a medical graduate, and do subscribe to my channel as we delve into different aspects of my life. You should watch till the end because I'm also going to be busting a few myths. The stuff that I discussed today is very general and should apply to all medical schools. However, I know there are some minor differences between each medical school, so you should do your due diligence after finishing my video. So let's start with something very basic. What is a medical school? In short, a medical school is a university or a tertiary institution that teaches medicine and awards professional doctor degrees to graduates. And it is through having this degree that doctors are able to treat and diagnose patients and diseases. And medical schools also award their graduates with the doctor title and relevant qualifications as well. Now, usually a medical course involves 5 to 6 years of intensive studies, and examples of medical colleges in Malaysia include the public ones like USM, UKM and UM, whereas the private ones include AIMS, Monash, IMU, Newcastle University, and also RUMC, which is where I graduated from. The award that you get, whether it's MD, MBBS or MD ECHBAO, which is the one that I have, depends on the accrediting body of the medical school, and they are all slightly different when it comes to recognition from certain countries, but generally they should be good enough for you to progress with your medical career. Now let's move on to the first part where I talk about the curriculum overview. Generally, medical schools have very similar curriculum, where it's divided into two main parts: the pre-clinical years and the clinical years. Now, in the first 2 years, which are also known as the pre-clinical years, there is a huge emphasis on human biology and biomedical sciences, and you get to study subjects like anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, biochemistry, and pathology. As all these subjects are very theory-based, the classes are likely to be conducted in lecture theatres, discussion rooms, and labs. And it is during these preclinical years that you learn and you form the foundation of your medical understanding, which are absolutely essential as you progress into the latter 3 years of your medical school life, which are also known as the clinical years. And during the clinical years, it is where you learn and practice clerkship and skills that you require in order to become a competent doctor. And it also marks your transition from a classroom student to a student doctor in the hospital. And during these years, you get to regularly attend teaching sessions by practicing doctors, and they are usually in hospital wards, surgical theatres, or clinics. And this is also the time when you acquire indispensable skills and etiquettes you need to be a compassionate doctor. And content-wise, you get to learn diagnosis and management of patients. And the major specialties covered would involve like obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, surgery, internal medicine, orthopedics, and stuff like that. And for each specialty, you have roughly 3 months so that you get quite a sizable amount of time to experience what every major department is like. Now let's talk about patient interaction. As you progress from preclinical years to clinical years, you will be required to take Hippocratic oath. And one very important element is primum non nocere, which is a Latin phrase that directly translates into first do no harm. And therefore, it is a very important takeaway that we always express empathy, competence, and most importantly, professionalism in all encounters with any patients at all. And you should always keep things like informed consent, confidentiality, and risk-benefit analysis in mind. And remember not to do any harm to any patient. Now let's move on to the next part where I talk about extracurricular activities. As much as you want to do well in your studies, it is also very important that you involved in extracurricular activities, and it is Highly likely that medical schools have external collaborations that give students opportunities like research, leadership programs, charity events, or community outreach programs, right? Otherwise, you could also take part in leadership opportunities, or you could also join the inter-varsity sports events or student associations. These are absolutely essential for your professional and personal development and could definitely prove useful in your future career progression. In medical school, one common but unfortunate phenomenon is that students tend to struggle to strike a healthy work-life balance due to all the exams and coursework, right? Therefore, it is very important that students recognize who they are, as in your identity, outside of medicine, and continue to pursue these extracurricular interests and nurture these relationships outside of medicine while you learn how to manage time for studies and also prioritize self-care, because this will ensure you to do better in the long run, and then you can pace yourself to go further along your medical journey. Next up, let's talk about career options. You might also be wondering, what can I do with a medical degree, right? To be honest, it can be quite limited when it comes to CV-specific careers. However, generally the options are: number one, you can be a doctor. This is the most straightforward path, and being a doctor requires you to go through a house officer training for a couple of years, and then you can progress with training along certain pathways to become specialists, including jobs like neurologists, surgeons, radiologists, or even general practitioners. And this is the most straightforward career path out there with a medical degree. And this is the only career that is specific to a medical degree. Next up, we have another job called consulting job. Business consultants are usually hired by established multinational companies. However, this can be very, very competitive and challenging because it requires you to have knowledge and analytical skills outside whatever you learn from medical school. And the job scope typically involves analyzing and advising companies as to how they can perform better. Therefore, it is important that we keep our extracurricular interests going so that in the event that we need to switch our career, there is always something else for us. So the next job we have is sales. Right? By sales, I mean jobs like medical sales rep, insurance agents, or real estate agents. And sales skills are definitely something that are inherently valuable, and being in sales forces us to face the harsh reality of how society works. Sales skills are totally not learned in medical school. It is also important that we keep our options open and keep the thirst to learn more and more, especially when it comes to things outside of medical school. Other career options such as freelance photographers, marketer, designer, or you can even start your own businesses. But these jobs or these industries require you to have a certain skill set, and that usually comes hand in hand with your interest. So for example, if you're very interested in design and you can design posters or logos, certain companies might hire you to do freelance work. So these are knowledge and skills that are vastly different from what we learn from medical school. And every career option has its own challenges. It's totally up to us to make the most out of every option we have. So now we are at the part where I pass the myths. Number one, medical school is difficult to pass. I call this a myth because a lot of people associate the difficulty of medicine with the content. But when you talk about the content, it is actually not that difficult, to be honest. However, it's the other aspects of the medical school life that can wear you out. It could be because of the very frequent exams, and the stress can really take a toll on you. And you have to commit a lot of time towards your studies, and you might miss out on family or friend events. And medicine is one of the longest courses out there, and it requires a lot of patience and persistence in order to pull through. So if you are talking about the difficulty, keep in mind that it is not with the content but with the long, exhaustive journey that you are about to face. So remember that. Myth number 2. Being a medical student is cool and glamorous. You might be thinking, oh, wow, all medical students are cool, with their lab coats and stethoscopes on, walking around campus, gathering for group discussions, etc., etc. You might also get a lot of medical questions from your relatives or friends, when in reality you only know like a tiny bit of what's actually going on. And to be very honest, it's not glamorous at all. You could be half naked, guys, half naked, pulling an all-nighter, surviving on microwave, ultra-processed food, for example, and energy drinks just because you have 20 chapters to cover for next week's exam. And you could be alone in your room crying at how badly you need a break. You could also be very uncertain about whether you made the right choice of going to medical school. Therefore, do not sign up for medical school just because you think life is going to be glamorous. Myth number 3. You are too old for medical school. If you have these thoughts, right, I'll assume that you are already in your at least mid-20s or 30s or even 40s, or you have at least completed one degree, only to wonder if you could still fulfill your dream or afford the time for a medical degree. But as I mentioned earlier, the course is at least 5 years, and it is actually just the start of your lifelong medical journey. To me, it doesn't really matter what age you start, because I've seen people going to medical school in their late 20s or even the 30s or even the 40s. So don't worry about when you start, and don't worry about the age at all. If you truly think that medicine is for you, and if your future lies within medicine, just go for it. It's a lifelong journey. So that's the end of today's video. I know this is a very long one. Leave your comments down below if you have any questions or any topics you'd like me to cover, and see you in the next video.